I want to thank you all for coming to speak to us about civilian oversight of policing. As indicated, I am Michael Tulloch. I'm a judge that sits on the Ontario Court of Appeal, and I am here to hear from each and every one of you about your thoughts about civilian oversight of policing.
We talked a lot as well about different kinds of institutions and the double standards that you can see, and how one of the big problems we feel is that a lot of these agencies can be very self-governing. There's this idea of the silent wall of blue that's very apparent in the police services, where the police want to protect the brotherhood of the police and the sisterhood of the police, and we find that it's going to be a lot more helpful if we have more victims, more civilians that are involved in these inquiries and in these reviews and on these different boards, giving more perspective to different officers.
It's not enough to just have these agencies and these watchdogs. People need to know how to access them, because that's just as important. You need a way to access the system. We've had some people in our group talking about the complicated process to get answers when you do access these systems. I mean, let alone not talking about the fact that a lot of people wouldn't even know where to go, who to contact. I mean, I'm in law school. I wouldn't even be able to tell you some of these bodies exactly what their mandates are and how they differ from each other. Just the system that they have in place that kind of wears you out and wears you down and stops you from accessing the answers that you're looking for. You know, the tedious process, a retainer, credit cards, and this is information that should be public and everyone should have access to, and there shouldn't be these barriers of access. We also talked about race and people's experiences with police officers. One of the people at the table mentioned a friend who said, I'm scared to have daughters, and she said, I'm scared to have sons because of the racialization issues in the Black community. Also, stereotypes of aggression that are very prevalent in police culture, and over-policing of areas where there are lots of people in certain communities. And so from that forms this kind of cross-generational memory that lives on, that has to be remedies in these bodies. And they have to strive for more transparency so that they'll be more legitimate to the public. We also talked about whether these groups should have their names publicized. I believe that was one of the questions. And that was a resounding and unanimous yes. As we said, doctors and lawyers, for example, are called out publicly. You know their name when they're misbehaving. You know exactly what they're accused of doing. Everything is an open book. And as it should be, because they are held to a high moral standard in society. They interact with vulnerable sections of the population, and that's the way it should be. Police should be held, at least we're told that they're held to the same high moral standard, but they are cloaked somehow where other people who are held to the same moral standard are not. So we would like to see that change. Not to mention the paid leave thing. That kind of delegitimizes a lot of things, that people feel like, you kind of shouldn't get what amounts to a paid vacation if you